Welcome to our video about common problems with the BMW X5 E53. The X5 E53 is a popular SUV from BMW that was produced between 1999 and 2006. While this vehicle is known for its impressive performance, luxurious features, and all-wheel drive capabilities, it is not without its flaws. In this video, we will be discussing some of the most common issues that owners of the BMW X5 E53 have experienced. Whether you're a current owner or just interested in learning more about this vehicle, this video is for you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the top BMW X5 E53 common problems. It's Max the Car Guy. Subscribe and let's get started. Oil leaks. This is a very widespread issue that affects all BMWs from this era and is a major contributor to BMW X5 engine issues from 2000 to 2006. Both six-cylinder and V8 engines of all generations are prone to developing these oil leaks, and they typically start at the valve covers and their gaskets as well as at the oil filter housings and their gaskets. As a result of repeated exposure to engine heat and oil, the various gaskets degrade, becoming brittle and hard, allowing engine oil to pass through the gasket surfaces. The fact that the valve covers and oil filter housings are made of plastic, which ages poorly over time due to heat, vibration, and exposure to engine oil, and makes them susceptible to cracking when disturbed, only serves to exacerbate the issue. The simple act of removing the valve covers or oil filter housings is frequently enough to put undue strain on the plastic components, causing them to crack and develop new oil leaks of their own when the rubber gaskets start leaking, frequently as early as 30,000 miles. Additionally, even if the plastic components don't break when being taken apart or put back together, they frequently do so before the next gasket replacement is due. It is therefore best to swap out the plastic parts gaskets at the same time. These engines are particularly vulnerable to oil leaks because the leaking oil will contaminate their rubber serpentine drive belts, leading to their failure and potentially harming nearby components like coolant hoses and pressure lines for the power steering and air conditioning systems. An engine bay fire could also start if oil dripped onto the catalytic converters or exhaust manifolds. Additionally, the N62 V8 engine has shown the potential for a broken drive belt to lodge between the timing chain and its sprockets after slipping past the main crankshaft oil seal, causing the engine timing to go out and internal engine damage. Oil filter housing and valve covers may crack and begin to leak around 60,000 miles, and rubber gasket leaks may appear as early as 30,000 miles. The OEM valve cover for the six-cylinder engine will cost about $420, the gasket will cost about $50, and the labor to install it will cost between $200 and $300 depending on the labor rate of the shop. For each bank of cylinders, V8 valve covers will cost between $300 and $400 to install. Both the OEM oil filter housings for six-cylinder and V8 engines cost about $280, and the labor cost to install them range from $200 to $300. How to spot oil puddles beneath the engine of a stopped car, oil leak trails down the front or side of the engine, and an engine room odor that is similar to burning oil. Cooling system problems. The main factor contributing to cooling system issues on both six-cylinder and V8 engines is the extensive use of plastic components. Plastic-made essential parts like the expansion tank, coolant pump impeller, thermostat housing, and various connecting fittings are the main culprits behind the majority of coolant leak and overheating issues in BMW X5 models from 2000 to 2006. In the face of heat and vibration, the plastic cooling system components have a limited life and will eventually brittle, crack, and begin to leak. Such failures, if unchecked, could eventually result in overheating, which neither the inline-six nor the V8 will tolerate and which poses a real risk of serious engine damage. Various heat exchangers in the air conditioning systems are also prone to failure, frequently at inaccessible locations like behind the dashboard or underneath the center console. The use of plastic isn't just limited to the engine bay, either. The coolant pump impeller could separate from its shaft before 50,000 miles. Smaller plastic fittings could fail as early as 30,000 miles, and a radiator could fail after 60,000 miles. Price ranges for radiators and interior heat exchangers can range from a few dollars for a small plastic fitting to hundreds of dollars. How to spot coolant leak traces close to cooling system fittings, coolant pools under the engine, an odor of antifreeze coming from the air conditioning system, and an overheating engine are all signs of coolant leaks. Look for the P128 or P1112 error codes as signs that your thermostat is broken. Vanos Failures. This is yet another issue with contemporary BMWs that affects both 6- and 8-cylinder engines. The actuating solenoid is the typical point of failure because it frequently becomes stuck after some wear. The issue will worsen if an engine's Vanos solenoids are not replaced on time, which will most likely hasten their demise. Even well-kept engines can start having Vanos issues after 60,000 miles, and neglected engines will start having problems much sooner. Vanos solenoids range in price from $180 to $210 and require several hours of labor to replace. Depending on the engine, expect to pay between $400 and $700 for parts and labor. Replacement solenoids cost about $180 each if you're able to handle the job yourself. How to spot. Any BMW X5 with the problem from 2000 to 2006 will experience difficult starting, idle issues, a lack of mid-range performance, increased fuel consumption, and a ticking sound from the front of the engine as a result of Vanos failure. Lots of different error codes may show up in a scan when the engine control unit is questioned. Ignition coil failure. This issue is most likely with any engine using a coil-on plug ignition system, not just BMW engines. When ignition coils get older, they may begin to leak spark to the cylinder head, either from the coil itself or from the short suppressor between the coil and spark plug. This causes misfires and subpar performance. However, because of how frequently this problem occurs, most owners now accept that replacing the ignition coil is a necessary part of routine maintenance. Although ignition coils can break down as early as 50,000 miles, many gently driven cars can go well past 60,000 miles before they need to be replaced. The coils for the 6-cylinder and V8 engines cost about $85 each, but it's best to replace them all at once because if the first one breaks down, the others will most likely do the same soon after. How to spot. Having trouble starting, idling rough, performing poorly, and using too much fuel. A variety of error codes may appear when the onboard diagnostic system is being scanned. For example, P301 indicates that cylinder number 1 is the problem, P302 that cylinder number 2 is the problem, P308 that cylinder number 8 is misfiring, and so on. Suspension rubber degradation. Although this issue is not unique to BMW products, it does present a significant problem with the E53 BMW X5. The rear subframe mountings and the front control arm bushings, both of which are mounted using rubber bushings, are the main offenders in this situation. Although they shield the cabin from road noise and shocks, these bushings do have a tendency to wear out very quickly. Therefore, the majority of suspension issues with the 2000 to 2006 BMW X5 can be attributed to worn rubber bushings. We end up with suspension and subframe mounting bushes that require an unexpected amount of attention when the weight of the X5, salt, and harsh road surfaces are added to the mix. If not repaired, these worn rubber parts will cause the vehicle's undercarriage to make obscene knocking noises and handle erratically. In E53 X5's suspension and subframe bushing wear can start to show up as early as 30,000 miles, and from 60,000 miles and up, they will unquestionably need some attention. Although complete front and rear suspension bushing kits can cost up to $800 not including fitment and wheel alignment, the required suspension bushes can be purchased separately. It is best to replace all 4 of the rear subframe bushes at once because they typically cost around $110 each. How to spot. Watch for irregular steering and handling responses, strange clunking sounds when driving over rough terrain, and quick tire wear. Verdict. The first-generation BMW X5 was a pioneer in the field of luxurious on-road biased SUVs, offering most of the dynamic prowess of a traditional BMW sedan and the elevated seating position of an SUV. The E53 BMW X5 is the only vehicle of its kind to offer the combination of traditional BMW driving dynamics, clear ergonomics, and timeless styling. Its styling has aged surprisingly well, and its interior is still free of any iDrive interface. Even when viewed through a modern lens, operating one as a family vehicle will most likely cost you a bundle to maintain, but it's still a very appealing on-road SUV in all other respects.